Hey, what's up, everybody? This week on the Built on Purpose podcast, we're going to talk about how AI is changing the hiring game and what you should do about it. We have been lucky enough to start implementing AI pretty early on. It's been probably about 16 months that we've been really kind of taking a look at how AI can help us or enable us to do senior level hiring better. And so I wanted to walk through some of what that means to you guys. Assuming that you're running a business or you care about hiring. Our belief is that hiring really is the only business strategy is hiring the right people or the best people. So if you can get your head wrapped around that, I just kind of wanted to share how we're thinking about AI and what you can do about it. So when it comes to hiring, I think one thing to think about is hiring fundamentals still matter a lot. You can't AI can't fix a broken hiring process, and you can't automate what you don't understand. So when I think about hiring, it's like building a muscle. You have to continue to improve, and you have to continue to build that muscle through reps. And so if you don't want to do that, AI is not going to be able to help you. But if you're willing to do that, you're willing to understand the process, AI can help you a lot to augment and help do some of the tedious work better and really help you hire better. And we've seen some terrific results from it. So I think for the majority of people, the one thing I'd point out, and maybe you've seen some posts that I've talked about, and on this specific thing, but I think for the most part, companies are getting absolutely crushed by candidates with relation to AI. Candidates, it's very easy for candidates to use AI. They're rewriting their resumes. They're taking your job posting. They're, kind of rewriting the resume and sending it in. Do I think that's ethical? I don't think it's ethical. I think, that candidates should really make sure that their resume is obviously accurate on what they're capable of achieving. So it embellishes that. I don't think it's ethical, but it's happening. So you have to adjust your process accordingly to continue to make sure that you're hiring the best people and to make sure you don't fall victim towards somebody gamifying the process and you hiring the wrong person. So I think on the side, if you start thinking about it, is it changing the game for the better or worse? Well, if you're not leveraging it the right ways and candidates are, then it's definitely for the worse if you're in that situation. But let's assume that most people have gotten a little bit ahead of this and they're using AI to help augment them to get tasks done faster, more efficiently. So if you're in that seat, then I think we're headed in the right direction. But for what I see, most companies are being outplayed by candidates, and they need to really start thinking through how to use AI to benefit them, to put together a process that allows them to walk through a sound hiring process to make sure that they hire the right people. I think, when you think about in the next year or two, like what AI is widely used for now, resume screening used by like 58% of companies, according to statistics. I think that's all fine and dandy, but I'll get into why there's so much more than just screening resumes. Obviously, everybody knows that there's a person behind the resume, and especially if you're hiring leaders, you definitely have to consider more than just screening resumes. AI can do that very, very well. I think there's a lot of people out there, including us. There's a ton of efficiency gains when it comes to AI. There are companies that are, reporting that they're 50% faster, time to hire just because it's able to find candidates faster, shortlist them faster. We're able to save, a lot of companies out there able to save maybe 30% as far as cost savings, the statistics are saying. And then higher conversion rates in AI screen candidates, which I think is super interesting and something to pay attention to. So when AI is involved in the screening process, the conversion rates are actually higher, which I find fascinating. So it's something to keep an eye on. But back to hiring process. So when we think about what works for with AI, is we have a really structured process that we've been able to leverage AI to help us run even faster and more efficiently. But there's nothing that's going to replace the fact that you have to really get clear on what success looks like in the role. So our first tool that we have being built that's almost done, that's kind of the first step, is role visioning. And you've heard me probably talk about this a lot. In order to hire the right person, you have to get clear on what success looks like in the role. And the only way to figure that out, it has to come out of the people in the business that understand the strategy of the role best. So you have to clarify what success looks like in the role, be able to, in a systematic way, pull that out of the people's heads that understand it, compile that information, and really get to what are the most important things that this person is going to need to achieve in the first year, maybe even a shorter time frame, and then the corresponding key responsibilities associated with those success outcomes. So when you get to that, this will enable you, and this again, this is our process, but I'm just sharing it so people have a kind of a frame of how they might be able to start implementing this even without our software, which I hope they do use our software when it's available. But I want to just give a little insights as to kind of what's working for us, so you can apply it to your own hiring process. So once you have a good structured opportunity profile, success outcomes, key responsibilities, how you're going to measure it, and this has to come from the minds and the heads of the people that understand the strategy of the role best. Then you can move on to what we call ideal candidate profile, but this is simply getting clear on where this person exists and what type of experience you would like them to have. And once you're able to get that out of your head, then you can start thinking about what a search strategy looks like from that information. Once you get clarity on what success looks like in the role, which we call an opportunity profile. Some of you may call it a job description, but it is really critical to understand that piece. And then the ideal candidate profile is like, what does this person's ideal background look like? What types of companies, what types of skill sets? One thing that I would point out that is super imperative is that this, obviously AI is not going to help you be able to make human judgments on the final decision. It's also can help you with figuring out if they're good leaders, but there is going to be a lot of human judgment involved in that piece as well. So the advice is for you to use it where it can help you augment your hiring process. And again, you have to have a sound hiring process to start. So getting clear on what success looks like in the role, getting an ideal candidate profile, and then figuring out a search strategy or where this person exists. And if possible, if you have the resources to do this, obviously we do, but that search strategy needs to get as detailed down to the specific industries, companies, and roles that would be ideal that this person would come from. And then from that, obviously you can leverage different pieces of technology and databases to get to specific names. So that is one thing I'd want to point out. Super important on the front end to get that front end information clear and concise, because you can leverage it downstream if you get that information right on the front end. If you don't get that information right on the front end, then it is a uphill battle, because then you have inaccuracies in kind of what this person needs to achieve to be successful. So I share that. And then I want to just get into, some contrarian sound bites or beliefs, that stuff that people hear, and just kind of want to expand on it a little bit. I think just like AI and most things, I don't think AI will replace recruiters, but certainly it's already replacing lazy recruiters. So if you don't have a good process and you're not working, in a sound way, you will definitely get replaced. And again, just like most things in life and prior to even AI, it's kind of a garbage in, garbage out scenario. Is you have to get very clear on the front end and getting crystal clear on what success looks like. And when you do that, it can be very, very helpful in helping you, kind of downstream. I think if you use it right, it can make hiring more human. But if you don't use it right, it could potentially make hiring less human. So those are just some kind of things that I would point out that kind of bounce around in my brain. Another thing that I want to kind of talk about that I think a lot of people aren't talking about, but I think one of the most important things to consider here is when you're hiring leaders, and I'd actually say for almost every role, but we focus on senior level roles. So we'll kind of start with like leaders, managers. When you're hiring for leaders, I think one of the things that people aren't talking about enough is screening people for AI competencies. And I know AI is relatively new, but I think in theory, if you're a good leader, um, leaders have that if they're good, they've been able to help implement and help encourage people to use AI in their organizations. And so you're going to want to find leaders that have a track record of doing this. And, I don't think this is no longer a nice to have. I think it's actually a requirement. If we all know that AI is going to help in a bunch of different ways, it's not going to solve issues. It's going to be, the companies that are going to win are the companies that have helped implement it and uh, helped encourage people to use it and enable them to use it and pick up on productivity and just figure out new ways of doing things with AI. And again, creating an environment and a culture where that's ripe of innovation. So I think when you're talking to leaders, I think you got to figure out how curious they are with AI. Like, do they play with AI tools themselves? And I would ask the, point blank in an interview, how they use AI even in their personal life. Like, what do they use it for? How do they use it to become more effective in any aspect of their life? I'd look for signs of being early adopters. And again, because these leaders are the ones, if you bring them in, they're going to help you continue to innovate with AI and encourage your team to use it and just move that much faster because there's not going to be a magic bullet, of course. And then I think, just asking things like, what's the last thing you used AI for and what surprised you? Just really understanding kind of how they're seeing it. And then again, do they create environments where teams feel empowered to test tools? And this could even be, dating back before AI was even around, is just figuring out if a leader has really been able to empower their team in testing stuff and running through different tests and iterating and becoming better. That will be a good sign that they will come in and do the same with AI. I mean, it's really figuring out if they encourage responsible experimentation with other stuff, including AI in prior, companies that they've worked with. And then, I think the other things is, you know, making sure that people are grounded enough to know when to use AI and when not. So you always kind of want to find out, do they understand that AI has risks and limitations? Really asking them like how they view that and making sure that you're aligned. And again, this is something new that a lot of people aren't talking about because it's critical more now than it ever has been. So I think when bringing leaders in, I think this is a must-have. It's something that must be talked about, and really figuring out how a team, depending on where you're at in the adoption of AI, making sure that you have a leader that is going to be able to come in and help you continue to adopt AI. So now kind of back to the process. I'll get into kind of what we're doing, and then you guys can, you can either copy it per se or just be excited about our technology that will be coming out soon. So I kind of go back to kind of how we're thinking about AI. If you get clear on what success looks like, we call that rule visioning, then the rest of the stuff becomes a lot easier when you're crystal clear on what you're looking for and what this person needs to achieve in order to be successful. And then I think, as far as the tools that come downstream from that are a interview guide. So like when you do have human interaction during the interview process, you're asking the right questions. AI can help you based on the success outcomes and key responsibilities. It can really help you figure out what questions you could put together in order to ask candidates. And then the other thing is it is really good at putting together like scoring matrix. So you can have it put together an interview scoring matrix, which our tool will automatically do this. but you could easily do this on your own if you know how to use prompts. And then from that, once you have a scoring matrix, I would recommend recording your interviews and using the transcripts, and then you can kind of use the transcripts to put it up against the scoring matrix and help you at least compare candidates against each other at the very least. Now, our platform will easily identify, who has performed better in the interview based on if you've got the right questions and you're measuring the right things. But I think for basic users right now, before they're able to use our platform, what'll be important is just, using the system to allow you to look at candidates side by side and start to understand who would be a better fit based off of the most important criteria for scoring candidates. And then it comes down to, there is some human judgment in understanding what type of leadership skills they have if it's for a leadership role. So that will never go away. And that last piece about making the final decision, I think that's always going to be something that you're going to have to be good with. And it's one of those things that you're, again, going to have to get reps. You're going to have to continue to build your hiring muscle and really, continue to look at hiring as something that's so important that you've got to understand the process, because you'll never be able to basically replace the process unless you know the steps that it's actually replacing in order to choose the best humans and the best leaders in order to drive your businesses forward. So that's all for today. I just wanted to drop in and talk a little bit about what was on my mind when it came to what was going on with AI, maybe a couple things to help you guys, how you start framing it up, and then a little preview as to Scout Path, the platform that we are continuing to build, just building a little excitement on how it can help you. But again, wanted to teach you some of the philosophy behind it, because I don't think you can replace. You can use AI to replace process that you understand what it's replacing. So hopefully this was helpful, and I look forward to any questions or comments. And we will be talking a lot about this, probably with guests. Probably every guest that I talk to, this will come up. So I wanted to at least drop some of the things that are going through my mind right now. So that's it for today. I appreciate you guys listening. If you could leave comments and reviews, that would be amazing. We just started putting these podcasts together in January and putting one out every single week. I appreciate your guys' support. I appreciate you guys listening. Hopefully this was helpful. And if you guys want to hear any of our past podcasts or future podcasts, you can go to yscouts.com or any place where you get your podcast. You've been listening to the Built on Purpose podcast, brought to you by Y Scouts. Thanks for listening.